Hey, you weather fans out there, it is Wednesday evening. It's weather for Weather Geeks time. We have kind of an unsettled forecast for the rest of the week, the weekend, even into early next week, so plenty to talk about in this evening's video. First things first, I did want to talk about one of our summertime topics that we get to occasionally, and that is dew point temperatures, and basically a measure of how much moisture is in the air. And looking back at our July records, dating back to the mid-1940s, the overall trend, that's that dashed black line, the trend has been for our summers to be more humid, higher dew points, in other words, over the last few decades at least. The overall average is kind of that thick black line that runs across the middle. And this July in 2022, for the 7th consecutive year, we had a more humid than average July. That being said, it was actually the least humid July since back in 2015. So it was not quite as muggy in July as the last few Julys. And that kind of makes sense because it was a pretty dry July, right? A little less moisture in the air, a little less precipitation gets wrung out. So still more humid than average, but not quite as muggy as some of our recent Julys across the area. All of our summer months are gradually getting more and more humid. The weather records clearly show that over the last handful of decades, and that goes along with the increase in precipitation that we're seeing year-round, really. But even in the summer season, especially in August, we've seen an increase in average precipitation at the tail end of meteorological summer. All right, we have plenty of rain chances coming our way over the next several days, but today was a dry and hot day, and the temperature curve really started to outpace yesterday's curve by mid-morning, and so we made it into the lower 90s this afternoon with those dew points coming up. And when you factor in the temperature and how high the dew points are, the apparent temperature, or the heat index, if you will, it's been mostly in the lower 90s here locally. The heat index, kind of a measure of what your body kind of thinks the temperature is, because it has to work harder to cool you off when the dew points are high. Evaporation is not as efficient, so the body has to work a little bit harder and sweat more in order to keep your temperature, your internal temperature, regulated. So it was as if the air temperatures were a little bit higher than they actually were today because of those increased dew points. Yucky 96 in Columbus as of 7 o'clock, 94 in Cleveland. We're still hanging on to a heat index of 90 here locally early on this evening. We have a mean line of showers and storms as of this recording off to our north and west, but the severe weather aspect of this is going to be a miss for us tonight. This line will continue weakening as it heads off to the east and kind of outruns its upper level support. Also, we're heading into the evening, losing the heating of the day, and all that being said, could we get grazed by a shower with an outside chance of thunder overnight? That's possible, but this line will not look as mean in a handful of hours. But there's been a ton of lightning and severe thunderstorm warnings up and down this line throughout the course of the afternoon. I posted on social media earlier today, mid-afternoon, we had the same temperature as Phoenix, and not a dry heat in Phoenix today. In fact, the dew point temperature in Phoenix as of 5 o'clock their time, 7 o'clock our time, 60 degrees. That's a pretty high dew point. Now, we're into the monsoon season in parts of the Southwest, and it can actually get kind of muggy at this time of the year. Even Los Angeles, which typically doesn't have very high dew points, has dew points in the lower 60s this evening. So the air mass that we have overhead, not that dissimilar from what they have in the desert Southwest today, with temperatures in the 90s and dew points up into the 60s. We made it to 92 officially at the Youngstown Warren Airport today, matching that in Akron, 91 in Hopkins Airport in Cleveland. Pittsburgh fell just shy of the 90-degree mark this afternoon. This was our 8th 90-degree day of 2022. We've doubled last year's total, and this is right on the 30-year average. About 8 is what we average for a calendar year. I think we have a good chance of adding the 9th 90-degree day tomorrow, but after that, I actually don't see that many opportunities for 90s, at least no slam dunks, probably in the next couple of weeks. Now, I have 87 in the forecast for both Saturday and Sunday. I don't think it's likely we hit 90 both of those days, but it's possible. It's certainly not impossible that we sneak up to 90 over the weekend, but good chance of 90 tomorrow. After that, I wouldn't say there's a good chance of a 90-degree temperature for at least a couple of weeks. If we see double-digit 90-degree days this year, we may have to rely on a hot September in order to achieve that. All right, we'll be watching for some real gully washers on Thursday, especially late in the afternoon and into early in the evening. The flash flooding risk kind of in that medium category. If you think of this scale as kind of a 4-tier scale, low, medium, medium, high, and high, we're kind of in that medium risk for flash flooding tomorrow. Very efficient rain producers. Now, the severe weather risk tomorrow, in terms of damaging winds, is not all that high. But the flash flooding risk is definitely elevated, particularly late afternoon, early in the evening. Then on Friday, a low-end flash flooding risk. I think there's probably fewer showers and storms around on Friday than we'll have Thursday evening. But anything that gets going on Friday could bring a Florida-like downpour. So walking through Futurecast here over the next couple of days, this front off to our north and west really just kind of hits the brakes and kind of almost washes out, but kind of just becomes stationary, really, just to our north and west. It'll act like a magnet for this moisture, and that moisture can be wrung out at times. Again, most numerous showers and storms around dinner time on Thursday. Any of these could be pretty heavy. Might get a shower Friday morning, but in the afternoon, activity can be a little more likely, although I think there'll be some dry pockets on Friday. If you have outdoor plans on Friday, I would keep them at this point. Very humid day once again, but I don't think it is likely to rain quite as much on Friday as in most of our area tomorrow evening. Now, Saturday could start with some low clouds and perhaps even some fog. I took the front off of our weather maps for Saturday. Again, it just sort of washes out. And we don't have much of a trigger overhead for showers and storms as we start the weekend, but with such a steamy, unstable air mass, a pop-up shower, perhaps a thunderstorm, is going to be a possibility Saturday. But again, I think the dry hours certainly outnumber the wet hours on Saturday. A lot going on in the valley over the next few days, including the Columbiana County Fair. And if you're heading to Lisbon to the fairgrounds on Thursday, again, your highest chance of getting wet right around dinner time. Unfortunately, that's when a lot of people try to hit the fair, especially on weekdays. But largely dry through mid-afternoon. Passing shower, I can't rule that out. But late afternoon into the evening, shower storms, some of them could be heavy. And 21 WFMJ, also the proud sponsor once again this year for the annual Greater Youngstown Italian Fest in downtown Youngstown. This runs Friday to Sunday, and none of these days are washouts. But could there be a downpour that passes through? Yes, especially in the afternoon. But I think there's going to be plenty of dry time as well. And just be prepared to sweat. It's going to be stinking hot and humid. Not as hot as today and tomorrow, but still very humid, with dew points in the upper 60s to around 70. All right, it's going to stay unsettled and humid into early next week. We've got rain chances in our forecast all the way through at least Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday of next week. But beyond that, there are signs that the pattern will not be as humid, it won't be as hot, probably not as unsettled either as we go into mid-August. So this is the 8 to 14 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center today. So this covers August 11th through the 17th. And you'll notice the heat is going to be centered well off to our west during this period. We might even have a couple of days of below average temperatures. Averages in mid-August are around 80, 81. We might have a couple of days in that stretch where it fails to get out of the 70s. Nothing crazy unusual or anything, but some relief from the heat and humidity is in sight, but it might take a good week or so before the air mass really completely changes over in eastern Ohio and western PA. I'll see you back here on Thursday for Weather Geeks. Thanks as always for watching on this Wednesday evening.